very good evening to all our viewers. Today is the 3rd of September 2021. You're watching Primetime News on TV1. For the Newsfirst team, I'm Yuki Pasha. Before we head into the headlines for tonight, we would like to apologize for the technical error experienced during the Newsline program, which was aired prior to the news bulletin. The technical error will be rectified and the full program will be uploaded on all Newsfirst digital platforms, including YouTube. Let's now take a look at your headlines for tonight.
Newsfirst Headlines. Main sponsor.
Valuable Finance, best finance company.
Quarantine curfew extended until the 13th of September. School students likely to receive the Pfizer vaccine pending medical approval. A plea from the gods for low sugar prices. Hefty fines on traders who sell rice and sugar at high prices. No need to go to the IMF, says State Minister Cabral. COVID-19 should not undermine the freedom of expression in Sri Lanka. A statement from the International Commission of Jurists. Sri Lankan shot dead after stabbing attack at New Zealand supermarket.
Newsfirst Headlines. Main sponsor.
Valuable Finance, best finance company.
Starting off with your top story for tonight, it has been decided to extend the quarantine curfew currently in effect until 4 a.m. on Monday, the 13th of September. The decision was made during the COVID-19 committee meeting held virtually this morning, headed by President Gotabaya Rajapaksa. Provincial and divisional directors of health were also present at the meeting. The progress of Sri Lanka's vaccination drive and future course of action to that front had also been discussed at length during today's meeting. Special attention had also been given during the meeting to conclude vaccinating those in the ages between 20 and 29 over the next 2 weeks. The President also extended his gratitude to all parties, including healthcare and security personnel, who supported authorities to successfully inoculate all citizens above the age of 30. The President had also highlighted the importance of moving the country's economy forward, adapting to the new normal through the foundation laid through a successful vaccination drive. The President had also said Sri Lanka's economy had turned negative pursuant to the lockdown imposed in the country in 2020, which lasted for over 3 months. He has stressed that all stakeholders must face reality and work responsibly towards safeguarding our nation's small economy. President Gotabaya Rajapaksa had noted students in specified age groups will be administered the Pfizer vaccine once medical experts grant approval.
අතිගරු ජනාධිපතිතුමා විසින් මේ අවස්ථාවේදී පැහැදිලි කරා මේ වන විටත් වයස අවුරුදු 30ට
The President notified that 88% of the citizenry above the age of 30 have been fully vaccinated by now. The President said if there were certain shortfalls in the vaccination drive, those will be fulfilled with the next consignment of Sinopharm vaccines, which will arrive in the country on the 5th. Therefore, we intend to vaccinate everyone above the age of 30 residing in all districts of the country within a week, starting from the 5th.
සියලුම දිස්ත්‍රික්කවල ඉන්න වයස අවුරුදු 30ට වැඩි ජනතාවට එන්නත් ලබා දීමට කටයුතු කිරීමට.
Sri Lanka will take delivery of a consignment of 4 million Sinopharm vaccine doses tomorrow, the 4th of September. Accordingly, this will be the largest consignment of Sinopharm vaccine doses delivered to the country in a single day. Issuing a tweet on the official Twitter handle of the Chinese Embassy of Sri Lanka, the embassy stated that with this consignment, the total supply of Sinopharm vaccines given to Sri Lanka will increase to 22 million doses. Meanwhile, the vaccination drive in the country continued at 331 vaccination centers within 23 districts across the country. Administering the first dose of the Pfizer vaccine took place for the second day in Ambalanthoda and Tangol areas within the Hambanthoda district. The vaccination process was conducted by the Sri Lanka Army. Our correspondent said that people between the ages of 20 and 30 were vaccinated at these centers.
The Pfizer vaccine was administered in the Hambantota district yesterday. What is the logic behind Pfizer vaccines being administered in Hambantota, or the inoculation process of Pfizer vaccines commencing from Hambantota? What was the reason behind assigning only the Army or the National Youth Services Council to administer the vaccines? In terms of giving priority during vaccinations, as a country, we are always on the wrong track. Member of Parliament Lakshman Kiriyalla queried today as to why those in the Kandy district have not been administered the second dose of the Sputnik vaccine yet, although authorities have commenced inoculating citizens above the age of 18 in the Hambantota district. The government, knowing fully well it would be unable to administer a second dose of the Sputnik vaccine, inoculated 150,000 people with the first dose. People from our district questioned us regularly. The production of this vaccine has now been halted. We need to know as to what alternative will be presented to vaccinate these 120,000 people. Vaccinating those between 20 and 30 years with the Pfizer vaccine has already commenced and is handled by the Army and the Youth Services Commission, but not the Ministry of Health. While those between 20 and 30 years in the Hambantota district are being inoculated, there are many people in other districts who have still not been inoculated. This is pure politics.
Questions related to the ongoing vaccination drive in the country were raised during a media briefing convened by the Health Promotion Bureau this afternoon. Not only in Hambantota, we even delivered doses of the Pfizer vaccine to Mana. Taking into account the number of vaccines we have received and the number of targeted population we have to inoculate, vaccine doses were sent to various districts from time to time. The Pfizer vaccine has not been allocated specifically to inoculate those intending to travel overseas. However, most countries in the world only allow people inoculated with the Pfizer vaccine to enter the country without having to undergo quarantine. We have therefore prioritized people who are traveling abroad for studies. The vaccine will be distributed to various districts based on requirements. This is not a process specific to Hambantota, but an island-wide process. All age groups should be inoculated in a systemic manner. These are only decisions made by recommendations presented by our expert committee. We do not follow a policy of directing these to a specific group of people.
With the normal vaccination drive and the high demand of the public, even I get pressured by many asking for a dose. This pressure is something all health workers around the country are facing. They are working tirelessly with that pressure. Not everyone is the same. Some people succumb to that pressure. It is because we want to avoid such incidents that the vaccine dose is being distributed through other organizations properly. It is not because of the inability of health officials to do so, but because we want to conduct the vaccination drive smoothly.
202 COVID-19 deaths were reported today, raising the COVID-19 death toll in Sri Lanka to 9,806. In light of this situation, the Sri Lanka Medical Association opines Sri Lanka is in a high-risk situation in terms of COVID-19.
Based on the ratio of the virus's spread and latest statistics, Sri Lanka has been named as a country in the red zone in terms of COVID-19. If we are to be classified as a country in the green zone, one where it is suitable for tourists to travel, daily cases must be reduced to around 950. Further, only 2.5% of our total tests should return positive results. If that is achieved, we can enter the green zone. That is the objective. We hope the travel restrictions currently in place will supplement our efforts to achieve that objective.
Now, a statement issued by the opposition leader notes that the decision to import the medicinal drug named Curfew in the US and as Ronapreve in the United Kingdom to Sri Lanka is important despite it being made behind time. Leader of the opposition revealed facts about the importance of the particular drug in a tweet on the 28th of August. The relevant medicine received huge demand from all over the world, and leader of the opposition Sajith Premadasa on 30th of August reiterated the importance of importing the drug. According to the statement, when the opposition emphasized the importance of vaccination and wearing face masks, everybody in the government only ridiculed it and had followed a similar policy when calls were made to import the relevant drug. The statement went on to note that the government, which is popular for the habit of closing stable after the horse has bolted, has finally decided to import the medicine called Curfew in the United States and as Ronapreve in the United Kingdom. According to the statement, the position of the government to pursue myth by disregarding science amidst grave disasters caused by COVID-19 in the country has resulted in a loss of over 9,000 lives so far.
A Pahan Puja will be held island-wide by the Samagi Jana Balawegaya, wishing all those suffering from COVID-19 a speedy recovery. Leader of the opposition Sajith Premadasa also lit candles at the opposition leader's office this evening to wish all COVID-19 patients a speedy recovery.
An online seminar organized by the MBA Alumni Association of the University of Colombo under the theme A Smart Lockdown was held today.
The online seminar saw the participation of experts in the fields of medicine and economics.
What we do in Hong Kong is we monitor a parameter called the reproduction number of the epidemic. So you can see that at this time, around the middle of October, the reproduction number was very low. So by the way, 1 is the critical threshold because below 1, it means the epidemic is contracting. When it goes above 1, it means the epidemic is expanding. So you can see it was quite low, but by 20th or so of October, this indicator has started to rise. So it is at that point that interventions were brought in. Reproduction number continues to go up because these interventions don't work overnight and then starts to come down. So the important thing is by intervening early, you can limit the scale of the outbreak. If you use these interventions early, guided by these parameters, you probably do not need to go the whole hog to full-scale lockdowns, and also you limit the impact on the healthcare sector.
A panel discussion was held thereafter with the participation of Minister Namal Rajapaksa.
Approximately 57% of our population are daily earners. When you go for a lockdown, what's going to happen to them? And what is the outcome of a total lockdown after 14 or 15 days? And if the numbers goes back where it started? And we have seen this is happening most part of the world. I mean, if you look at India, they went for a 3-month lockdown. And then the third wave hit that then. The numbers skyrocketed within a week or two. We are concerned. We need to make sure that the outbreak is controlled. And we do work closely with the health authorities and take their advice. But at the same time, we also have to make sure that the economic activities keep moving forward. The export industries have to continue. And we have to agree that the $4.5 billion or $5 billion we earn from tourism is no more. And it has gone down to $26 million or even less than that for last 6 to 7 months.
The Sri Lanka police have been constant guardians of the general public. Rain or shine, thousands of dedicated men and women in our police force fulfill their duties to safeguard our nation at all times. Today marks 155 years since the Sri Lanka Police was established. In 1795, a force similar to the police was introduced by British rulers to protect containers placed at the Colombo port. However, it was in 1866 that police service began officially in the country. GWR Campbell, who is in charge of the Ratnagiri Rangers of the Bombay Police, was selected by the Governor of Bombay, and he assured duties as the Chief Superintendent of Police on the 3rd of September 1866. In 1947, Sir Richard Alavihara was appointed the first Ceylonese Inspector General of Police. The Sri Lanka Police rendered an immense service in safeguarding the nation in collaboration with other security forces during the 30-year war, which ravaged Sri Lanka, acting as first responders during times of strife, including natural disasters such as the tsunami in 2004.
During a pandemic, when a quarantine curfew is in effect, we have decided not to hold any celebrations for the anniversary. The IGP has given instructions to hoist only the police flag at police stations and the headquarters with the participation of few police officers. I must mention that this morning, on the 155th anniversary of the police, we are facing a huge challenge. We know that we have been able to manage this crisis well thus far. Many challenges have taken place in society since independence. Accordingly, the Sri Lankan police have been able to cope with those changes. We are focusing on how the police can change over the next 15 to 20 years. The plans for those changes are being implemented as of now.
Even during quarantine curfew, Sri Lanka Police has continued to render its duties, at times going beyond the call of duty. Let's now toss over to a short commercial break. To stay with News First, we will be right back.
Valuable Finance, best finance company.
Do your online shopping with Sambole.lk. Home delivery and pickup now available.
Sambole.lk.
Welcome back to the news. Police in New Zealand shot and killed a violent extremist Sri Lankan who stabbed and wounded at least 6 people in a supermarket in Auckland.
It was reported that the attacker was under round-the-clock monitoring and heavy surveillance of the New Zealand intelligence services.
Oh no! Oh bro, look what happened, bro.
The attacker has been identified as a supporter of the Islamic State terrorist group. It was reported that the New Zealand police killed the attacker within 60 seconds of the attack. This callous attack in Auckland will stir painful memories of the deadly mosque attack in Christchurch in 2019.
The terrorist is a Sri Lankan national who arrived in New Zealand in October of 2011. He became a person of national security interest from 2016. What happened today was despicable, it was hateful, it was wrong. It was carried out by an individual, not a faith, not a culture, not an ethnicity, but an individual person who was gripped by ideology that is not supported here by anyone or any community. He alone carries the responsibility for these acts. Let that be where the judgment falls.
When News First inquired on the matter, a senior spokesperson of the Ministry of Public Security said that it had been revealed that the suspect had left to New Zealand in 2011. Investigations are underway to identify the suspect.
The Consumer Affairs Authority inspected rice mills in Polonnaruwa today to ensure whether rice is being sold at the controlled price.
A group including the chairman of the Consumer Affairs Authority, Major General Shanta Disanayaka, took part in the inspection. The officials who arrived at the Aralia rice mill engaged in a discussion with the owner of the mill, Dudley Sirisena, regarding issuance of rice at the controlled price.
There are many practical issues. I understand that you have limited authority, but the farmer is not selling paddy for a lower price. The government is pressurizing us to issue rice for this price. It is our responsibility to comply with the government. There is no issue in that.
Meanwhile, a discussion with the owner of the Nipuna Rice Mill, State Minister Siripala Gamlath, was also held. The warehouse of the Singhapura Ratna Rice Mill in Velikanda was also inspected today. According to our correspondent, journalists were not allowed to enter the premises.
Prima has decided to hike the price of 1 kilo of wheat flour by 12 rupees. Now, the latest hike in wheat flour comes against a backdrop where maximum retail prices on sugar and rice have come into effect from today. Based on the extraordinary gazette issued on the maximum retail price on rice, 1 kilogram of kiri samba must be sold at 125 rupees. The MRP on 1 kilogram of red or white samba rice has been set at 103 rupees, while the MRP of 1 kilogram of white or red nadu rice has been set at 98 rupees. The extraordinary gazette further announced an MRP of 95 rupees has been set for 1 kilogram of white or red raw rice.
Is the maximum retail price being adhered to in the market?
මිල අද පාලන මිල දාලා තියෙනවා මාත්‍යා. අද ඉඳලා පාලන මිලට තමයි අපි විකුණන්නේ. සුදු කෙකුළු 93යි, සම්බා 105යි, කීරි 125යි, නාඩු 98යි.
ආල් මිල දාම තීරණයක් නැහැ. මිනිස්සු ඉල්ලන අඩුවට දාම අපි දැන් පරණ මිලට ගත්ත බඩු තමයි තියෙනවා. ආල් මිල ඔක්කොම හොඳ පාලන මිල.
Rice has been offered at a maximum price. We should be able to offer rice for those prices without any complications.
දිනා දෙන්න පුළුවන් වෙයි කියලා අපි හිතනවා ඉදිරියට.
The extraordinary gazette has also imposed a ceiling price on sugar. Hence, the MRP of 1 kilogram of unpackaged white sugar is 122 rupees. Further, the MRP of 1 kilogram of unpackaged brown or red sugar has been set for 125 rupees. The Gazette has also set an MRP of 125 rupees for 1 kilogram of packeted white sugar, with an MRP of 128 rupees being imposed on 1 kilogram of packeted red or brown sugar.
Consumers had gathered opposite multiple Satos outlets situated island-wide today to purchase sugar at the control price.
It was announced that sugar would be offered at 122 rupees. However, now we are being told that it is 130 rupees. The government and traders are saying contrasting things. Who do we believe? I purchased sugar yesterday as well. Only 1 kilogram of sugar is sold. We brought sugar at 130 rupees from the Peradeniya outlet. We are wasting our time in queues to purchase a kilo of sugar. I am being told that the price is 130 rupees. I do not know how effective the government's price control is. We need to spend nearly 200 rupees to purchase a single kilo of sugar. We are truly saddened at the fact of having to stay in queues to purchase goods. The government does not follow a proper mechanism. There is no success and no one to resolve the matter.
Another 115 metric tons of sugar stored at a warehouse in Balapana, Minuwangoda was discovered today during a joint operation launched by officials of the Consumer Affairs Authority in the Gambha district and Minuwangoda police. The owners of the warehouse claim the sugar stock in question had been transported to the warehouse in April and that they possess the necessary licenses. However, officers of the Gambha District Consumer Affairs Authority informed the owner of the warehouse to offer the stocks of sugar at the maximum retail price imposed by the government. Sugar was offered at prices above the ceiling rate today at Co-op City outlets situated in Demanhandiya, Katana.
එතන තියෙනවා සීනි කිලෝ එකක් දෙන්නේ සුදු සීනි 200යි. එතකොට රතු සීනි තියෙනවා 130යි. එහෙම කිව්වට ඒගොල්ලෝ කියනවා ඒගොල්ලන්ට ඉතින් විකුණන්න තියෙන මෙලුලු එතනත් තියෙන වැඩ කරන කට්ටිය ඉන්නේ ඉහළ නිලධාරී දැනගන්න ඕනේ ඒවා ටිකක් පොඩ්ඩක් 205යි සුදු සීනි. ඉතින් අපිට අඩු කරේ නැහැ ඉතින් අපි දෙන්න විදියට අරන් යනවා.
මං ගාව තාම තියෙන්නේ 205 මිලට තියෙන සීනි එක තියෙන්නේ. 125යි සුදු සීනි තාම ආවේ නැහැ අපිට.
A group of women from Telvatta Gaul conducted a plea from the gods at the Sinigama Devalaya today, pleading for severe punishment to be dealt to those who offer sugar at black market rates and sugar hoarders.
සීනි සඳහා පාලන මිලක් ඉදිරිපත් කළා.
In recent months, we took all possible steps to update laws which counter unnecessary hikes in prices of goods, especially rice and sugar. However, those did not return positive results. We introduced a ceiling price for sugar. However, there was no sugar available at that rate in the market. A ceiling price for rice was also imposed, but rice could not be purchased for that rate in the market. We need to concede that is the truth. We accept that consumers were forced to purchase goods at augmented rates, but there was no way to control prices. We attempted to change the law of the Consumer Affairs Authority, paying special attention to increasing fines for certain misdemeanors. The draft law on amending those fines will be presented in Parliament for the first reading. The draft law on amending those fines will be presented in Parliament for the first reading next Tuesday. With the latest amendment, the fine will be increased from 100,000 rupees to 1 million. Based on the current act, there are legal provisions to hand down a jail term of no less than 6 months after 2 fines have been charged. If a corporation of single business sells goods exceeding the ceiling price, the fine has been increased from 1 million to 10 million rupees. If the same corporation is found guilty twice, the fine charged has been increased from 2 million to 20 million rupees.
ඒ වගේම දෙවෙනි වතාවට ඒ සමාගම අහු වුණොත්, ඒ හවුල් ව්‍යාපාරය අහු වුණොත් මේක ලක්ෂ 20 සිට ලක්ෂ 200 දක්වා මේ දඩ මුදල වැඩි කරලා තිබෙනවා.
They pretended that stocks of sugar concealed in warehouses were discovered based on information provided by certain media institutions and individuals. Is the Consumer Affairs Authority or the government unaware of it? They are acting out a drama for the people. This is a farce. They show various raids, how many metric tons were discovered, and claimed businessmen are at fault, not the government. The government is attempting to use the business community as a scapegoat to evade their responsibility. When massive stocks of sugar are imported, paying a pittance to the state, concealed in warehouses and sold to the government, traders enjoy massive profits. The government has given yet another benefit to their close associates. This is similar to the story of Andare eating sugar. They granted relief, allowed businesses to import and hoard sugar, and now those stocks are being purchased by the government.
ආණ්ඩුවයි ව්‍යාපාරිකයෝ එකට එකතු වෙලා අර අන්දරේ සීනි කෑව වගේ මේකටත් සීනි මගේකටත් සීනි කියලා දැන් දෙන්නම ගජරාමෙට සීනි කන.
News First queried as to whether a shortage of gas and milk powder continues to persist in the country.
But we see that there is a prevailing gas shortage in the country, a milk powder shortage in the country, and we see people lining up in front of stores to purchase goods because of speculation, or however you put it. In what context did you mention that their lives have not been compromised?
Yes, there are difficulties and challenges at different times, but the reason for the gas was that one of the companies that was supplying gas had not been able to make ends meet for a short period of time. They're back in business now again. I believe it is now a matter of the past, and gas is available once again in the quantities that people need. The second point that you made with regard to the milk foods, yes, there is a shortage there, mainly because the companies that were importing milk foods wanted to, I think, increase the prices more than what the Consumer Authority was willing to grant. But I think the discussions are going on now, and it may be possible for them to come to a compromise where permission to give a reasonable increase could be done, and therefore thereafter milk foods to be made available again. But I think even there, the reason for the shortage of milk for a certain period of time was mainly because of the disagreement vis-a-vis the pricing, and not because of the inability to bring it down.
What is the ground reality in the domestic market, although the minister expressed those views? News First inquired into the matter. Only litro gas is being sold in certain areas. Although the Consumer Affairs Authority approved the price increase of a 12.5 kilogram domestic Lavs gas cylinder to 363 rupees, the regular supply of Lavs gas cylinders has not been restored. Consumers were seen with gas cylinders in multiple areas. Large queues to purchase gas were seen in a number of areas today as well.
We came here at 6 in the morning. They said it might take up to 12 to 1 p.m. We came here and left yesterday as well. If they are supplying gas to only 20 consumers, they should give them as soon as they arrive instead of making people wait. Sometimes we have to wait until 10, 12 or even 1 p.m. You cannot find gas in any shop from Kurunagala to Polgahwela. We came here at 4 in the morning. Even though they say they are bringing gas, we were unable to find a gas cylinder anywhere.
These were the views expressed by State Minister of Consumer Protection Lasantha Legewanna.
As of now, 95% of it has been resolved. There are more problems. For example, one might face complications when purchasing a new gas cylinder. We discussed that. There was a shortage of gas in the market. Cylinders which did not belong to Litro were also accepted. There are unwanted repercussions that emerged during a shortage. The market has not recovered 100%. There is a problem in obtaining new gas cylinders.
The team that came into power stating that they will control the country with the use of Oracle databases and artificial intelligence can't even manage the state according to the constitution. By imposing emergency law, they have shown their inability not only to the country but also to the world. Many international media outlets including Reuters and The Hindu have reported that emergency law is implemented in Sri Lanka. There is a shortage of food, milk powder and oil, with long queues of people, adding that a famine is expected in the country. Through this, the government humiliated the country in front of the world. Because of this, tourists will be reluctant to visit the country. Investors who had little interest in investing in the country will be further discouraged.
On to another headline-making story for tonight. Speaking during a media briefing today, State Minister Atut Niwat Cabral said Sri Lanka does not need to seek help from the International Monetary Fund.
I've also seen several news reports which referred to Sri Lanka's need to go to the IMF and seek support, as well as debt to be supported with the IMF. We don't have a need to do that. We do have a respect for the IMF and we have worked with them in the past as well. However, at this moment of time, we have identified the needs as well as the requirements of our economy, and we are working that out in the best way possible in the interests of all our stakeholders, the importers, the exporters, the lenders, the borrowers, the banking sector, and all stakeholders have been thought through. And we are confident that with our plan that we have put in place, as well as the new initiatives that we are taking, we would be able to ensure that Sri Lanka will not have to default at any time in the near future or even in the foreseeable future, or for that matter, in the future at all.
Advocata Institute says harsh enforcement of price controls may worsen food shortages. Independent policy think tank Advocata Institute said there is serious concern with the steep rise in the prices of essentials which has taken place over the past 2 years. Advocata's Bath Curry Index, an indicator that tracks commonly consumed food items, showed a 30% increase in food prices in August of 2021 compared to August last year. The statement adds that the reason for the increase in prices include import restrictions and tariffs that have disrupted markets. The recent ban on fertilizer is likely to result in even further increases in the prices of vegetables and cereals over the forthcoming harvests. According to the think tank, the restrictive policies have been worsened by the shortage of foreign currency caused by the ongoing balance of payment crisis. The statement adds, quote, harsh enforcement of price controls could in turn create black markets, resulting in significant welfare losses in the form of a deterioration in product quality, elevate scarcities, disadvantaging the poor who are less sophisticated, and in the long run lead to higher prices, lower output due to lower investment, end quote.
Andrew Pereira, a former group director of Capital Maharaja Group, passed away earlier today. He was 76 years of age at the time of his demise. Mr. Andrew Pereira rendered a great service to Sri Lanka's agricultural sector after forging relationships with foreign institutions during his tenure. Foreign Minister G.L. Peiris has met with United Nations Resident Coordinator Hannah Singer at the Foreign Ministry yesterday. During the meeting, the Foreign Minister has briefed the UNRC on Sri Lanka's ongoing efforts to contain the COVID-19 pandemic and the challenges faced in this regard. The Minister has also briefed the UNRC on the progress made through domestic mechanisms on human rights, including SDG 16 dealing with peace, justice and institutions. The UNRC briefed the Minister about the preparation process underway between Sri Lanka and the United Nations under the Sustainable Development Cooperation Framework 2023 to 2027, which embodies the priorities for Sri Lanka in cooperation with the UN for the next 5 years. Foreign Affairs Minister Professor G.L. Peiris claims that Sri Lanka is a nation which boasts a vibrant democratic culture. The minister made these remarks during a media briefing this afternoon.
I would invite anyone to witness the proceedings of the Sri Lankan Parliament. The opposition, although not very large in number, is certainly active in Parliament. The government is kept constantly on its toes. The government is held to account. Questions are asked at the beginning of the day, at the end of the day. So it is a very vibrant democratic culture which is receiving expression at all levels of society in our country. Apart from Parliament, look at the media, how independent, how aggressive it is. There are many members of the government who feel that the media is terribly unfair to them. The mainstream media, particularly the social media. Criticism is healthy. We accept it. We are not taking any measures to impose restrictions on the freedom of the media. Whenever government has intervened to restrict demonstrations and processions in the interest of public health to prevent the spread of a mortal virus, the courts have not hesitated to intervene time and again to tell the police, you have no right to do this. People do have a right to demonstrate. It is a right that is enshrined in the Constitution of the Republic. So action by the police has been struck down with no inhibition by the courts of the country.
The International Commission on Jurists says the Sri Lankan government must stop harassing and threatening journalists, government officials, doctors and social media users with legal actions for criticizing the state response to COVID-19.
ICJ's Legal and Policy Director Ian Seedman said, quote, "The Sri Lankan government seems to be misusing regulations adopted to combat COVID-19 as yet another means to restrict freedom of expression and information," end quote. He added that this is a continuation of practices spanning far earlier than the beginning of the COVID-19 pandemic. In a statement, the ICJ said, quote, "While there is a legitimate need to counter the spread of misinformation to protect public health during a pandemic, this objective must be provided by a clear and accessible law and pursued using the least intrusive means rather than unnecessary and disproportionate measures such as unwarranted arrests and police intimidation," end quote. The ICJ policy director said, quote, "The intimidation of government critics with the excuse of COVID-19 restrictions not only contravenes Sri Lanka's international legal obligation to respect the right to freedom of expression and information, but it also undermines the right to health and the obligation to ensure access to health-related information and enable people to seek, receive and share information and ideas concerning health issues," end quote.
A series of cover songs of the popular Manike Mage Hite song released by Sri Lanka's very own Yohani De Silva have taken many countries including India by storm. We leave you tonight with that rendition.